Here's the 30-second lesson on what legends know. Never practice nunchucks in a crowded room. Never eat chole before a road trip. Always take your shirt off before you iron it. Don't take a call near a swimming pool. And don't forget, saving is not investing. Legends don't just save, they invest in mutual funds. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
The stench of gunpowder and rotting blood hung over the city as the aging tyrant celebrated his honeymoon at his elegant estate on Yangon's Inya Lake. Then 77-year-old General Ne Win had been told by his astrologers that his wedding to an Arakanese beauty less than a third his age was necessary Yadaya Shai, a magical ritual which would ward off threats to his rule. To help the occult succeed, the general's soldiers hunted down the student protester who had challenged his rule. Even as the massacres proceeded, the general played Scrabble with his new wife and his friends, laughing and joking. For 2 generations since the savage crushing of what was known as the 4/8 Rebellion, which broke out in 1988, democratic movements and ethnic insurgents have battled Myanmar's military without success. The magic of General Ne Win's sorcerers proved powerful, long outlasting his own death in 2002 at the age of 91. This week, though, the insurgent Arakan Army has destroyed military positions in the town of Tongop, the latest blow in a campaign that has besieged bases around the capital, the city of Sitwe, the Kyaukphu Special Economic Zone, and the Myanmar military's Western Command in An. The Arakan Army is now estimated to control 8/10 of the province of Rakhine, raising speculation the region could be the first to be completely liberated from the control of Myanmar's military junta. Less clear, though, is what comes next, and that confronts India with tough choices. Fearing the impacts the disintegration of Myanmar could have on security in the northeast, India has long resisted formal diplomatic engagement with insurgent groups in that country. That policy, though, could no longer be sustainable. Following independence in 1948, historian Jacques Leader has written that Arakan's communities found themselves marginalized in a state dominated by ethnic Bamar chauvinists. Tens of thousands of impoverished Arakanese migrated to Yangon or left to work in Kachin State's jade mines. Even as the region acquired growing economic and strategic significance in the new millennium, with China building pipelines carrying natural gas and oil to Yunnan and investing in sprawling economic zones, the people of Rakhine remain desperately poor. Fishing, one of the few industries which flourished there, was crippled by the arrival of large Chinese trawlers in the region's waters. Tensions between Arakan's different religious groups had long enabled the state to contain these conflicts. Following the occupation of Myanmar by Britain in 1824, international studies expert Ai Chan records that tens of thousands of peasants were brought in from the Chittagong region and granted leases to till land until then held by local tribes. Few ethnic Burman, moreover, were given the opportunity to serve as administrators or soldiers, historian Harrison Atkins has written, and one colonial administrator decried efforts to recruit them as, I quote, a gross waste of money. Later, during the Second World War, the region's Muslims, mainly though not all known as the Rohingya, sided with British forces, seeing them as protectors against Arakan Buddhists and the Burman. Local Buddhists, though, sided with the nationalist leader Aung San and his Japanese allies. The two communities' rival colonial-backed militia engaged in savage violence throughout the Second World War, assassinating suspected collaborators and burning down entire villages. From the moment of independence, though, the two communities united in resisting Yangon. In 1949, historian and journalist Bertel Lintner records, Arakanese insurgents ranging from Islamists to communists contested the region's accession to the new nation. The Buddhist monk turned communist leader Sien Da, known to his followers as the King of Arakan, fought the military for years. Tha Gyao, nicknamed Bombok or bomb thrower, led another communist insurgent group. Local Muslims, meanwhile, supported the Islamist leaning Mujahid movement led by Hussein Kawal, which hoped to join Pakistan. The Mujahid insurgents would continue to fight the Myanmar military until 1954, when their uprising was finally crushed. The 4/8 protests of 1988 also saw both Muslims and Buddhists united, this time against General Ne Win. That August, a range of historic Arakan leaders, among them the communist Sien Da, Thao Gyao, and Kyaw Zhan Ri, as well as one-time pro-Japanese militia leader Bogri Kra La Aung, joined together. The yellow banner of Buddhism fluttered along with Islam's green flag with the crescent moon, Lintner writes. Founded early in the century, the Arakan Army emerged from groups of migrant workers living in Kachin, Independence Army held territories. The group received some patronage from the KIA, which it saw as an ally against the military, but slowly began to raise its own funds through drug trafficking and extortion. Locating its headquarters in the town of Liza on the border with China, the Arakan Army soon developed ties not just with the KIA, but also with other powerful ethnic insurgents like Kokang's Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army, the Taang National Liberation Army from Northern Shan State, and the United Wa State Army. Late in 2013, the Arakan Army, then several thousand strong, sought to join a nation-wide ceasefire negotiation with ethnic insurgents, which had been initiated by military-linked President Thein Sein. However, the Arakan Army, along with the Myanmar National Democratic Alliance and the Taang Army, was excluded from that dialogue. This led the Arakan Army to open hostilities against the military starting from 2015. That year, the group overran army positions in Kautau and Palewa, seizing large caches of weapons and ammunitions before retreating back into the jungles. Faced with this demonstration of power, as well as diplomatic pressure from China, Myanmar authorities included the Arakan Army and widened the negotiation process. The talks went nowhere though, and the government made clear it was not willing to cede any significant autonomy to ethnic groups. The difficult choices India now faces as a result of that meltdown aren't new. From the outset, New Delhi knew it needed Myanmar's help to contain secessionist insurgencies in the northeast. Even General Ne Win's coup in 1962, which led to harsh measures against peoples of Indian origin like the confiscation of their properties and various targeted persecution measures, led to little pushback. The coup came on the cusp of the 1962 war with China, and Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru simply could not risk an escalation of insurgent violence in the northeast at that time. Like many other regional powers, India has seen Myanmar's military, the Tatmadaw, as the only force that can ensure some kind of functioning political order. For all practical purposes, though, the Arakan Army is now beginning to emerge as the de facto ruler of Rakhine and the governing authority for that area. For India to exercise influence east of its borders, it'll have to do business with the insurgents. To secure Indian interests, key among them the $484 million Kaladan multimodal transport project, which seeks to link Kolkata with Sitwe, India thus even provided military support at one time to the Tatmadaw in the face of attacks from the Arakan Army. It's obviously not possible to do that when the Tatmadaw itself has vacated Rakhine for the most part. For its part, China, which has been sitting on the fence through much of the insurgent junta conflict, appears to have thrown its weight behind the generals. General Min Aung Hlaing, the junta chief, met with Chinese Premier Li Qiang in Kunming early this month, a public demonstration of support. China has also shut down its land border routes to areas under the control of the Kachin Independence Army, restricting access to food and fuel for the insurgents. In 1988, as the 4/8 protesters were massacred, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi's government had thrown its support behind the democracy movement in Myanmar. 4 years later, though, it was forced to reverse course, fearing the general's drift towards China and the consequences in the northeast. Today, India has to make the same choice again. But the price of calling the bet wrong, then as now, could be extremely high. I'm Praveen Swami, and I'm a contributing editor to ThePrint. Thank you for watching this episode of Security Code.